I didn't start researching this topic because I believed in a miracle. In fact, I initially stumbled upon it because of a healthy dose of skepticism. About a decade ago, a colleague of mine, a very pragmatic, no-nonsense biochemist, returned from a conference completely fascinated by something that sounded, to me, like science fiction. He was talking about a compound that could talk to our genes. My first thought was, here we go again, another superfood hype. But what he explained next stopped me. He wasn't talking about a magical berry or an exotic root. He was talking about a humble vegetable, one that many of us have pushed around our plates since childhood. He described a series of lab experiments showing that a specific molecule from this vegetable didn't just act as an antioxidant in the way we usually think, like a Pac-Man gobbling up free radicals. Instead, it seemed to go straight to the control room of the cell. It was flipping switches, activating genes that we already possess, but that often go dormant as we age. This wasn't about adding something foreign to our bodies. It was about reawakening an internal defense system that has been with us since birth but grows sluggish over time. I was intrigued. I started digging into the peer-reviewed literature, not looking for headlines, but for mechanism. I wanted to know the how. How could a compound from a plant possibly influence something as sacred and complex as our DNA? What I found fundamentally changed how I view the relationship between food and our genetic blueprint, especially for those of us navigating the terrain of our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. We've been taught to think of nutrients as building blocks. We need calcium for bones, protein for muscle, vitamin C for immunity. This is true, but it is a very limited, almost architectural view of the body. It treats our biology like a house that simply needs bricks and mortar to stay standing. But you are not a house. You are a living, dynamic, chemical conversation. And the most exciting frontier of nutritional science isn't about building blocks, it's about signals. The topic for today revolves around a specific compound that acts as a powerful signaling molecule. It doesn't give you anything you don't already have. Instead, it knocks on the door of your cell's nucleus and delivers a message. That message, put simply, is, wake up, it's time for spring cleaning. It's time to fix the typos in the blueprint. We are going to dive deep into how a specific compound from a very common food group can initiate a neurological cascade that affects everything from your gut to your brain. We will explore how it stimulates the cephalic phase of digestion, how it calms the nervous system by engaging the vagus nerve, and most importantly, how it influences the microscopic world of your genome stability. By the end of this, you will understand that this food isn't a medicine, it's a messenger. And the message it carries is one of resilience, repair, and order. To understand the how, we have to zoom in, weigh in. Imagine a single cell in your body. It's under constant assault. UV radiation from the sun, pollutants in the air, pesticides on food, and even the natural byproducts of your own metabolism, like exhaust from a car engine, create what we call oxidative stress. This stress creates lesions or damage to your DNA. Think of your DNA as a massive, intricate library of blueprints. Over time, pages get smudged, words get erased, and typos appear. For the first half of our lives, your body has a vigilant librarian. This librarian oversees a team of editors that constantly patrol the stacks, fixing the smudges and correcting the typos. But as we cross the threshold of 40, 50, and 60, that librarian gets tired. They start taking longer coffee breaks. The editing team gets sloppy. The damage starts to accumulate. This accumulation is what we experience as aging at a cellular level, and it creates an environment where errors, like cancer cells, can slip through the cracks. This is where our food compound comes in. It doesn't act as an editor itself. Instead, it walks up to the tired librarian and hands them a strong cup of coffee. It activates a master switch inside the cell called NRF2, short for nuclear factor erythroid 2-related factor 2. Here is the step-by-step cascade of what happens when this signal is received. First, when you chew, chop, or digest the source of this compound, a chemical reaction occurs. A precursor called glucoraphanin comes into contact with an enzyme called myrosinase, found in the plant and your gut bacteria, transforming it into the active signaling molecule, sulforaphane. Second, sulforaphane enters your bloodstream and penetrates your cells. Once inside, it nudges a protein called KEAP1, which normally keeps the NRF2 master switch locked in the off position. Sulforaphane essentially unlocks the handcuffs, freeing NRF2 to move into the cell's nucleus. Third, inside the nucleus, NRF2 binds to a specific piece of DNA called the antioxidant response element. This is the command center. This binding action signals the cell to ramp up production of over 200 protective enzymes and proteins. This includes phase 2 detoxification enzymes, which are the cellular cleaning crew that neutralizes toxins and prepares them for removal, and powerful internal antioxidants that quench oxidative stress before it can damage DNA. This is not a simple one-to-one reaction. It is a sophisticated, orchestrated biological response. It is your body healing itself, using the instructions you've always had, but that have been silenced by age and environmental stress. Let's walk through the specific science-backed benefits of activating this pathway. First, you get a calmer, quieter gut. We often think of digestion as a mechanical process. Food in, stomach churns, nutrients out. But your digestive tract is also a chemical sensing organ. When you eat foods rich in this compound, the initial chewing and swallowing trigger what is known as the cephalic phase of digestion. This is the head phase where your brain signals the gut to prepare for incoming food. Sulforaphane enhances this communication line. More importantly, it helps maintain the integrity of the gut lining. By activating NRF2 in the cells of your intestinal wall, it strengthens the tight junctions that act as the gatekeepers between your gut and your bloodstream. This helps prevent the phenomenon known as leaky gut, where undigested food particles and toxins slip into systemic circulation, triggering widespread inflammation. A calm, quiet gut is the foundation of a calm immune system. It reduces the inflammatory load on your entire body, giving your DNA repair systems one less thing to worry about. Second, you get clearer, brighter skin as you age. Your skin is your largest organ and your first line of defense against the outside world. It's also a billboard for your internal health. A fascinating randomized trial published in 2025 looked at healthy human volunteers and found that supplementing with glucoraphanin, the precursor to sulforaphane, led to a significant increase in protective enzymes directly in the skin. Why does this matter? When you expose your skin to UV light, it creates a massive surge of oxidative stress, leading to wrinkles, age spots, and DNA damage that can lead to skin cancer. The study showed that by activating the NRF2 pathway, the skin's own defense system was bolstered. The expression of pro-inflammatory cytokines, the molecules that cause redness, swelling, and long-term degradation of collagen, was reduced. This isn't a topical cream, it's internal reinforcement. You are building a shield from the inside out, creating skin cells that are more resilient to the environmental assaults that accelerate aging. Third, you protect the blood-brain barrier. Your brain is a privileged organ. It is protected by a highly selective membrane called the blood-brain barrier, which decides what gets in and what stays out. As we age, this barrier can become leaky and inflamed, a condition linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Sulforaphane is one of the few natural compounds that has been shown to support the integrity of this barrier. Because it is lipophilic, meaning fat-soluble, it can cross the barrier itself. Once inside the central nervous system, it activates the NRF2 pathway in the support cells of the brain, called glial cells. This reduces neuroinflammation and protects the delicate neurons from oxidative damage. By signaling the brain's own support crew to step up their game, you are helping to maintain the fortress that guards your memory, your cognition, and your clarity. Fourth, you harmonize the detoxification highway. The body has a two-phase system for getting rid of toxins, often referred to as Phase 1 and Phase 2 detoxification. Phase 1 is like a wrecking crew. It takes a toxin and chops it into smaller pieces. The problem is, these intermediate pieces are often more reactive and damaging than the original toxin. Phase 2 is the cleanup crew that comes in, neutralizes those reactive pieces, and packages them for safe removal. Many things in our environment, certain drugs, alcohol, pollution, can ramp up Phase 1 too high, creating a traffic jam of dangerous intermediates faster than Phase 2 can handle them. Sulforaphane is a master regulator of this highway. It potently induces Phase 2 detoxification enzymes. It signals the cleanup crew to clock in for overtime. It doesn't necessarily slow down the wrecking crew, but it ensures the cleanup crew is robust enough to handle the debris, preventing a pileup of toxic intermediates that could otherwise damage your DNA. Fifth, you turn down the volume on chronic inflammation. Inflammation is not inherently bad. It is your body's natural response to injury or infection. Think of the redness and swelling around a cut. That's acute inflammation, and it's a sign of healing. The problem is when the fire never goes out. Chronic low-grade inflammation smolders in the background for years, damaging tissues and creating an environment where cancer cells can thrive. Sulforaphane acts as a natural fire extinguisher. It works by inhibiting a complex called NF-κB, which is essentially the master dimmer switch for inflammation. When NF-κB is activated, it turns on hundreds of inflammatory genes. By inhibiting this switch, sulforaphane helps to lower the overall inflammatory tone of the body. It shifts you out of a state of alert and into a state of repair. Less inflammation means less collateral damage to your cells, preserving the integrity of your DNA over the long haul. Sixth, you support healthy blood sugar balance. As we age, our cells can become deaf to the hormone insulin. This is insulin resistance, and it's the hallmark of type 2 diabetes and a major driver of metabolic syndrome. When cells are deaf to insulin, blood sugar spikes, causing widespread damage through a process called glycation, where sugar molecules literally gum up the machinery of your cells, including proteins and DNA. Research suggests that sulforaphane can help turn the volume back up on insulin signaling. It activates NRF2 in the liver, which improves glucose metabolism and reduces glucose production. By helping to lower blood sugar and improve insulin sensitivity, you reduce the glycation stress on your body. You are protecting your proteins and your DNA from being caramelized by excess sugar in the bloodstream, preserving their structure and function. Seventh, you reset the cellular power plants. Your mitochondria are the tiny power plants inside your cells, responsible for converting the food you eat into the energy your body runs on. As we age, these power plants become less efficient. They start to sputter and leak, producing less energy and more of that damaging oxidative exhaust we talked about earlier. The NRF2 pathway activated by sulforaphane is intimately connected to mitochondrial health. It promotes a process called mitochondrial biogenesis, essentially the creation of brand new, efficient power plants. It also helps clear out the old, damaged mitochondria that are leaking free radicals. This is a process of cellular renewal. By signaling for better quality control in your mitochondria, you are ensuring your cells have the energy they need to perform their functions, including the energy-intensive work of DNA repair. A cell with robust energy is a cell that can fix itself. Eighth, you engage in epigenetic gardening, weeding out bad gene expression. This is where the science gets truly elegant. Your DNA sequence is relatively fixed, but which genes are on or off is controlled by the epigenome. Think of your DNA as a massive library of sheet music, and the epigenome as the conductor, deciding which instruments play and which remain silent. In cancer cells, the conductor goes haywire. It silences the tumor suppressor genes, the brakes, and tells the oncogenes, the accelerators, to play loudly. Sulforaphane has been shown to act as a powerful epigenetic modulator. It can inhibit enzymes called histone deacetylases and DNA methyltransferases, which are the tools the conductor uses to silence genes. By inhibiting these enzymes, sulforaphane can effectively turn the volume back up on silenced tumor suppressor genes. It's like gently weeding the garden of your epigenome, allowing the good, protective genes to flourish again. This isn't changing your genetic code. It's optimizing how that code is read. Ninth, you activate the DNA repair crew. We've talked about preventing damage, but what about the damage that has already happened? This is where the story deepens. The sulforaphane NRF2 axis doesn't just prevent, it actively participates in the repair process. When a double-strand break occurs in your DNA, one of the most dangerous types of damage, your cell has sophisticated machinery to fix it. However, this machinery requires a protein called p53, often called the guardian of the genome. p53 assesses the damage and, if possible, orchestrates the repair. Sulforaphane has been shown to stabilize and activate p53. It gives the guardian a boost, helping it to more effectively coordinate the repair crews. By enhancing the function of p53, you are ensuring that when your DNA is damaged, it has the best possible chance of being fixed correctly, preventing the mutations that can lead to cancer. And 10th, the most profound benefit of all, the real secret, is that you restore order and discipline to the entire cellular community. This is the philosophical and scientific climax of the entire story. We started this journey talking about a tired librarian and a cup of coffee. We end it by understanding that this compound, this signal from a humble vegetable, is fundamentally a message of order. Cancer, at its core, is a disease of disorder. It's a breakdown of communication. It's a cell that stops listening to the community and starts replicating chaotically, selfishly. It forgets its place in the body. The master switch that sulforaphane activates, NRF2, is not just about antioxidants or detoxification. It is about cellular discipline. It upregulates genes that promote order, genes for repair, for quality control, for programmed cell death when a cell is too damaged to be saved. It downregulates the chaotic signals of inflammation and uncontrolled growth. By delivering this signal regularly, you are reinforcing the community rules. You're reminding every cell in your body of its role in the larger organism. You are not fighting a war on cancer. You are cultivating an internal environment so orderly, so disciplined, that cancer finds it very difficult to take root. This is the true meaning of prevention. It is not a battle. It is a practice of daily maintenance, a quiet, consistent conversation with your own biology, telling it, remember who you are, remember your blueprint, remember how to repair. Now, how do you actually do this in a practical, safe way? The most abundant dietary source of glucoraphanin, the precursor to sulforaphane, is cruciferous vegetables, with broccoli being the most well-studied. But not just any broccoli. Broccoli sprouts are the true powerhouse. They can contain 20 to 100 times more glucoraphanin than mature broccoli heads. You can find these at many health food stores or farmers markets, or you can easily sprout your own seeds at home in just a few days. The key to unlocking the sulforaphane is to chop or chew the raw sprouts or vegetables. This brings the glucoraphanin into contact with the myrosinase enzyme. If you cook them, you destroy this enzyme, and the conversion cannot happen. So for maximum benefit, eat them raw. If you must cook mature broccoli, chop it and let it sit for 40 minutes before cooking. This allows the reaction to happen first, and the sulforaphane produced is heat-stable. You can add a handful of broccoli sprouts to salads, sandwiches, or smoothies. They have a mild, peppery flavor. A serving size of about 2 to 3 ounces, or a generous handful, a few times per week is a reasonable and effective target. Consistency is far more important than quantity. This is about a regular signal, not a one-time megadose. There are some critical safety warnings you must keep in mind. While sulforaphane from food is incredibly safe, there are specific situations where caution is needed. If you are taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin, also known as Coumadin, you need to be careful with a sudden, large increase in your intake of leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables because of their vitamin K content. You do not need to avoid them, but you must be consistent so your medication levels remain stable. Consult with your doctor. If you have thyroid issues, particularly hypothyroidism, consuming large amounts of raw cruciferous vegetables can interfere with iodine uptake by the thyroid gland. However, this is primarily a concern with massive juiced quantities. A normal dietary intake of a handful of sprouts is unlikely to cause problems for most people, especially if your iodine status is adequate. If you have concerns, cooking the vegetables deactivates the goitrogenic compounds, but, as we discussed, also deactivates myrosinase. Steaming lightly is a middle ground. Finally, listen to your body. If you experience digestive discomfort, start with a smaller amount and gradually increase. As with any dietary change, the goal is gentle, consistent support, not a harsh intervention. So here's my question for you in the comments. After learning how this simple food can speak to your DNA, what is one small change you feel inspired to make this week? Will you try adding a handful of sprouts to your next meal? If you found this exploration of cellular health valuable, please subscribe to the channel. We dive deep into the science of how your body works so you can navigate your 40s, 50s, and beyond with clarity and confidence. And finally, leave you with this thought. For most of human history, we ate what the earth provided, and our bodies evolved sophisticated systems to interpret those foods as signals. In our modern world of processed convenience, we have silenced many of those signals. But the capacity for order, for repair, for resilience, it's still there, waiting. It's waiting in your cells, in your genes. It just needs the right knock on the door. Sometimes the most profound medicine is not a pill, but a message. And that message can be as simple as a sprout. Thank you for listening.